Hey everybody, Susan here with Pumpkin Hill Stampers. We have a Stampin' Show and Tell today, and today I'm going to be showing you a faux silk technique. It's where we stamp on tissue paper, and then we back it, and then we create our card. So it might be hard to see in the video. I'll bring the card up a bit, but if you can see, the background looks all crinkled. Okay, and that's my tissue paper that I've then adhered to a piece of cardstock. So I'm going to take you through the process of my technique, and then I'll show you how I put the final card together. So, as you can see, I am using images from the Painted Poppies stamp set. And the way we start is, here's the size of the front of my card. And I have a piece of just standard, good old-fashioned tissue paper. Okay? So I'm just going to kind of tear this down to size a little bit. So I need about half of the width. Now I'm going to cut it a little oversized because when we do it, we're going to wrap it and it's going to be okay. But I kind of don't want it too big to start with. So I'm just going to kind of make it a little bit smaller than it currently is. Okay? So there's no real cutting it. It's just whatever size you're working with. And then as you can see, I've got my piece of Whisper White behind my tissue paper so I know how big I'm going to be stamping. So then I'm going to bring in my Memento ink, and I'm using Memento because I am going to use my blends to add the color to my image. So I'm going to stamp my 3 poppies first. So I've got 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I'm bringing in my leaf. Okay, now as long as I keep it on top of my thing, I know where I'm stamping, and I'm going to stamp that one here. I'm going to bring this one over there. And I have one coming down. How did I do that? I have one coming down this way. So, okay, so there is my stamped images for my card. Now, I'm not worried that my images are overlapping any because in the end I'm going to put more flowers on top, so we'll hide all this kind of underneath. Now, I am going to bring in my blends. I am using Blackberry Bliss for the center, and I'm using Flirty Flamingo for my flowers. Now, here's something that, and you can see when you stamp it kind of pops through there, so unless you're going to line it up exactly, we're just going to flip that over when we glue it down. But for now we need to add our colors. So I'm going to take my Flirty Flamingo, I'm going to color in my flowers. Now I am going to color it on the back side, okay, because tissue paper is going to take a little while to dry, but I'm a little more confident if I color on the back side. Because it's tissue paper, it's going to bleed through to the front. So I'm not going to worry about the color being all the way through. And then after we color our petals, we'll go back and we'll add Blackberry Bliss to the centers. So this is a technique I learned years ago. It's called Faux silk. And so the idea is that we are going to create our creation, and then, believe it or not, we're going to crinkle it up, and then we're going to flatten it back out again, and it's going to add that layer of texture just from the crinkled tissue paper. It's going to give it an actual feel of texture, kind of like when we emboss with our folders, but it's just going to be crinkled up tissue paper. Now you do need to be careful that you don't rip it while you're crinkling it and uncrinkling it, so that has to be patient with that. But I don't think I've ripped one yet, so it'll be fine. So now you can see it all bleeds through, so you've got to be careful where your colors are bleeding. So now I'm going to add Blackberry Bliss to the centers of my flowers. Okay, and we're kind of going for a watercolor feel, so it doesn't have to be exactly correct. Now I'm going to flip it over again. I'm going to do my leaves. And again, it doesn't have to be exactly within the lines, but you want to have it close. You don't want to have it too far off. But if you're somebody who has a shaky hand, this isn't a bad technique to use because the idea is to kind of be a little bit outside the line. Okay, I'm going to flip it over and add a little more of the darker green, just to add a little bit of shadow and shade to those leaves. Okay, perfect. So now our stamped image is done. So like I said, right, I'm going to let it dry here for a second. So here we go, I'm going to crinkle it up. I know, isn't that awful? You think, oh, she's crinkling up the art, but it's okay. That's the technique. As you see as I uncrinkle it, it now has added texture to it, right? Okay, good. So now I'm going to bring my piece back in. So now this is where our liquid glue comes in handy. So I am going to really lightly cover my whole piece with my liquid glue. Okay, you want it to be kind of smooth. And you want it to be right up to the edges. So there's my piece. So now I'm just going to fit this over the top and press it down just to the edges, kind of like ironing it out. And if you get a fold in it, that's fine. That's all part of the technique. Okay, so now I've got my piece on there. So now you can either add adhesive to the back and fold around, or you can trim the edges. So I'm going to trim my edges a little bit, just so there's not so much to deal with. So just outside of that cardstock edge, give it a quick trim, right? Okay, now I am going to flip it around. I'm going to put some adhesive on it, just so we can clean up those edges a little bit. I'm just going to fold it around to the back, just like that. I'll do the same thing across the top and the bottom. Just kind of fold it. And there we have our panel for the front of our card. Okay? So now this is kind of a fun card I created to put it in. So I've got a piece of the Blackberry Bliss cardstock, and I've die cut a rectangular frame out of it. Pull that free. Great. Okay. So now I have a window for the front of my card, right? So here's what I did. So there's the front of my card. So I'm going to fit this inside and frame it, right? Frame it. So what I want to do is I'm going to add some adhesive to the inside. If you've got tear and tape or sticky strip, this might be a good project for that. But now I've got to frame this over the top. So I want to get all those edges covered. I want to frame that inside my front of my card frame, but I don't want to leave it open inside my card. So I want to close this up. I'm just going to add all this. So I'm kind of making a closed pocket for my framed art inside of my card frame here. And by using the liquid adhesive, I can adjust it a little bit as I'm folding it and matting it. So press your layers down. Okay, and then after we finish, I can then mount this to the back of another card and it'll be good to go as a greeting card. So we're just going to press all these edges down. We want nice sealed edges. Okay, so now on a different piece of tissue paper, before I did all this, I have stamped and colored more flowers. So I'm going to crinkle them up and then uncrinkle them pull them off. They're on glue dots, and I'm just going to layer them over the top of the flowers on my cards, because poppies to me always have lots of layers, lots of texture, and so this was a good way to add more layers but not lose the underlying layers. So instead of cardstock, I'm using tissue paper layers. So that was kind of fun to do too. Okay, so now I've got my layers of flowers. I got my layers for my poppies. Then I decided to add a label here on the bottom. So from my Painted Poppies bundle, I've used my 2 frames, and I'm going to borrow from Tasteful Textures the greeting, "Thanks for making it easy to believe in myself." And I'm going to stamp this in the smaller one. There we go. So keeping with all my colors. I'm going to snail this one down to my card, and I'm going to pop up the smaller one. Just kind of center that on there. Take this one and pop it up on a couple of pop dots. And then just add a little bit of sparkle. I'm going to use these dots. I'm just going to add a little bit of extra sparkle to the card, just kind of around the edges. So there we have it. So isn't that fun? So I did create this card for a challenge on a Facebook blog, and it was with Angie McKenzie, and her criteria was she gave us a poppy vase picture and some colors. So these were some of the colors she gave us, and then also a texture challenge, and she was kind of looking for like a crunched snow kind of feel. So I kind of thought of this silk technique, this faux silk technique, and I thought, well, I'm going to try that. So I did play in that challenge. Now, you can go to my blog from the link below, and I've got the details for the card there for you, plus all the things I used, and I'll take you through the technique again so that if you need them, you can refer back to it. So I hope you enjoyed today, everybody. I enjoyed sharing this fun technique with you. I haven't done it in a while, but it is a really fun technique, and give it a try. Okay, everybody, I'll see you next time on the Stampin' Show and Tell. Bye-bye.